Today I'm going to be giving my persuasive speech on why parents shouldn't spank their children. I don't have kids and I'm not married, but I do not believe in spanking or hitting children at all. Growing up, my dad would always spank us when we acted up or when we did something wrong. He would try to teach us the lesson that it's not okay to hit others by hitting us when we didn't know better because we were just children. So you can see how that would and does confuse a child. I'm a firm believer in not hurting any child in any way, whether spanking or something else. I will never use this punishment for my children because it teaches all of the wrong things. The line between spanking and abuse is far too thin when parents are upset and frustrated. They get caught up in the moment, and things like spanking can turn into smacking or hitting or shaking or other forms of punishments. Spanking teaches kids that the bigger and the stronger person has more power over the smaller and the younger person, making it seem like when they're older that they have the right to hit those younger and smaller than them, since that's what their parents had taught them when they were kids. Spanking has also been linked to low self-esteem and making the child feel helpless and endangered. The child will start questioning what's wrong with them, and it also teaches kids aggressive behaviors. And so if their parents are spanking them or hitting them, then why can't they do it? That just shows the kids that violence will solve problems. In reality, it won't. Spanking also has been linked to damaging relationships and trust between the parents and the child. A study done by Dr. Bruce Lipton showed that it's biologically impossible to learn while you're afraid. Not only children, just anyone. You can't learn if you're afraid. So when you're spanking your child and you're trying to teach them a lesson not to do something, they're physically afraid, and then they can't physically learn the lesson that you're trying to teach them. This will also make your children learn to lie to you and avoid you in the fear of getting spanked for something that they did wrong, according to Psych Central. There are plenty of alternatives to spanking your children, so I don't understand why parents don't use them. Parents need to start by staying calm and leaving the situation if they need to. They need to find an alternative to hurting their child. You can give choices to the child of punishments if they don't stop what they're doing instead of just spanking them. The parent needs to take time for themselves and decide what they're going to do about the situation instead of acting out of anger and frustration and spanking the child. Parents need to learn more logical consequences, such as timeout or grounding them from their favorite toy, which all do not display violence, according to positiveparenting.com. So this just goes to show that there are so many other alternatives to spanking your child that aren't abusive. Parents need to remain calm or things will spiral out of control, so you should decide now, whether you have kids or not, that you will never spank your child, and you can start thinking of alternatives now that won't in the long run make them feel hate and distress towards you. So if you want a healthy and safe relationship with your child, be kind to them by being firm but not hurting them or damaging them another way. So not only does spanking affect self-esteem and trust in the relationship, it affects the child's brain. So CNN published an article, and in it the science shows that it doesn't only physically hurt the child, but it lessens the amount of gray matter in their brain. And so what the gray matter is that it controls the sensory perceptions such as hearing, memory, emotions, speech, decision-making, and self-control. Researchers found that children who were spanked regularly had less gray matter in their brain, which has been linked to depression, addiction, and other mental health disorders, and it also links to higher aggression in kids. So it's really ironic, by spanking your child because they had no self-control, and by spanking them, that reduces their self-control. A study shows that there are still 19 states that will allow schools to paddle children legally, and Idaho is one of those states. So next time you're thinking about spanking a child, remember this. It not only physically hurts them, but it emotionally and mentally hurts them. It hurts your trust and your relationship with the child. And if you're thinking, I was spanked and I turned out fine, or I spanked my children and they turned out fine, remember that you don't know who they would be or how different they would act if you had not spanked them. So you can't say that because you don't know how they would have behaved differently without that abuse.